Okay, our first set of maneuvers we're going to do today is we're just going to go ahead and start off with the basics. We're just going to go ahead and start out with some forward tumbles, some backwards tumbles, and some rolls, all stationary. We got a slight breeze, so we will be doing a little bit of wind correction, but let's go ahead and see what we got. Okay, we want to go ahead and get into a trimmed hover here, which is about that. And what we're going to want to go ahead and do is go ahead and start a flip. What we'll have to do is first give a little bit of positive collective to power drive it around. Otherwise, we'll just kind of fall down. So here we go, a little bit on the up, and we'll go ahead and get into it. There we go. Now, we want to be very smooth with the collective. Otherwise, we'll be going in all different directions. Timing's a big part of a stationary tumble. I mean, as you can see, if we give a little bit too much in one spot, we'll start climbing, or we can start descending if we don't give enough at certain times. So what we're looking really for is just a nice stationary tumble. And same thing to the back. It's just opposite maneuver. Same thing though on the entry. Going to give a little bit of collective to go ahead and start it in, and we can go ahead and ease in our cyclic to get it going a little faster. Next thing you know, we're in a nice stationary flip or tumble. And again, if we start moving the collective, we could start moving it forward or we can go ahead and move it back. It's all collective timing. That's what makes it very important to keep it smooth. That pretty much sums up our tumbles there. We're going to go ahead and move into, I wouldn't call it too much more advanced, but into the aileron rolls. We're going to go ahead and shoot for stationary as well. Here we go. Same thing applies in this. Collective has a big part to do with this maneuver. If we're off a little bit of timing, we're going to go ahead and start descending or climbing. This maneuver uses a lot of power. And if you notice your machine starts to bog while doing this, what you're going to want to do is slow down the roll. You can hear a pretty good difference from letting off a little bit from when we go to full cyclic. Loads up a lot more. But that'll pretty much sum up our aileron rolls there as well. We'll go ahead and move on in our next segment. Okay, our next maneuver here is going to be the tick-tock. We're just going to go ahead and do a basic elevator tick-tock right now. Here we go. We'll go ahead and this maneuver is going to really consist of our collective management and also as our cyclic management. We don't want to be stick banging during this maneuver, so we'll go ahead and give it a shot. We'll see what happens. Here we go. Okay, what we're doing is using the collective to stop the helicopter, but using the elevator to get the proper angle so that we get enough thrust to keep the helicopter in the air. As we can see here, it's a very smooth maneuver. We don't want to jerk anything, otherwise they'll really kill our head speed. It takes a lot of power to get it back if we're going to continue this maneuver. And that basically there consists of our tick-tock there. The next maneuver we're going to go ahead and do is the aileron tick-tock. I'm going to go ahead and do it from this angle so we can go ahead and really get a good visual on the blades on what angle we're looking for. So here we go. It's the same concept, just with aileron instead of elevator for the motions. Here we go. Again, we're looking for a proper angle, very smooth on the collective. Just want to be nice and slow with it so it's nothing too rapid. And again, if we use too much collective, we'll go ahead and load the head. Same thing with cyclic. And that basically consists of our aileron tick-tock. What we can go into now is a 4-point tick-tock. We have a little bit of wind, so it might be a little difficult, but we're going to go ahead and try it anyway. It's a combination of both our elevator tick-tocks and our aileron tick-tocks. We'll go ahead and see what happens. We'll go ahead and get it going first with a nice, smooth, regular tick-tock. Then we're going to go ahead and turn the tail 90 degrees and use an aileron to get it over to a flat level again. Same thing this way now. We're using the elevator to go ahead and stop the tick-tock. And we'll go ahead and rotate it again. Now we're using aileron to get it to rotate completely over. And we want to stay nice and smooth. Now we'll go ahead and go last point, and that's basically our 4-point tick-tock. Nice smooth collective and aileron changes. Then an elevator, and then again the aileron. Well, a nice smooth pirouette rate, nothing too rapid and crazy. Just nice and smooth. And that consists of our 4-point tick-tocks. Okay, our next maneuver we're going to go ahead and do is basically just another generation of a tick-tock. It's called a rainbow. Just a bigger tick-tock, really, just really spread out in the air here. We'll go ahead and see what they do. It's very smooth on the cyclic, a little more abrupt on the collective. Let's see what they look like. I'm going to go ahead and give it our collective. Very smooth on the cyclic. Abrupt endings there, but very little cyclic's all it needs for these. And we can also go ahead and throw in, for a little variation, kind of a little collective jump. Looks kind of neat. We can go ahead and throw in a flip. A little more advanced there. You got to be really careful on the cyclic. You got to trade off your cyclic on the collective there. A little bit bigger. Conserve the power there. That's pretty much our rainbows, but the most important thing about those is we definitely want to keep our cyclic movement to a minimum to use all our power onto the collective. Okay, our next maneuver we're going to move on to is a little more advanced, kind of like an aileron tick-tock, but brought out more, kind of like our rainbows. It's called a snake. You guys are probably all really familiar with it. It's just nice and big and broad and smooth here. It's kind of a flowing maneuver. Very little tail input, usually don't have to change it. Most of it's done with a slight change on aileron, but also most of it's done with the elevator. As we can see here, I'm not changing the tail rotor much, just enough to lead it. But most of it's done there with the elevator and as well as with our aileron. You see, just roll it over and push, roll it over, pull, just smooth on the cyclic. We don't want to get really hammering on anything. It's just nice, big, and smooth is all we're looking for. It's done pretty simple, but also want to stay smooth. Another variation we can go into this is a little tighter. Not really too sure what you can call it, but it's just a little tighter, a little more aggressive. Just same thing, just brought out a little bit bigger and tighter down low. And you can see not much difference in the stick movement. It's just done all more power and being smooth on the cyclic. It's the biggest, most important thing about this maneuver. That's going to go ahead and consist our training on our snakes. Okay, the next maneuver we're going to go into is the wall. It's kind of advanced. We're really looking for big collective timing with this maneuver. Very simple on all the other controls. We're just looking for a nice smooth transition into the collective for the stop. Coming in, pull up, negative, stop it positive, and then back out with negative. It's kind of a slowed down version there. We'll go ahead and speed it up to a full-on wall here. There's two different variations we can do. I'll demonstrate next one here. Stop and then continue. Want to try to keep it the same altitude. It's a little more impressive when you do it down low. We'll go ahead and show you the one where kind of like a reversal. We'll come in, stop it, and go back out the same direction we entered. It's pretty neat. Different variation of it. Change things up. I'm going to do one more of those. Stop and back it out. You need to let off a little bit of pitch there, let the motors keep going. We'll go ahead and do a regular one again. It's all timing. One more. Demonstrate here when we kind of get off timing. If we don't pull out the pitch early enough, we'll climb as we saw in that one. So it's definitely a timing critical maneuver, and that's how we do a wall. The next maneuver we're going to do today is a hurricane. In order to do a hurricane, you need to be able to first fly backwards inverted. We're just going to go ahead and do backwards inverted ones today. I think they look a little more impressive than the forward ones. All we're doing is using our power and cyclic and a little bit of rudder. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate one and do a few for you. What we'll do is go ahead and get some speed built up here, a little bit of rudder. We need to manage our collective by using how much cyclic we're using. Just slowly build it in. Listening to the motor, we don't want to overpitch anything. Just listening, slowly easing in some more, a little bit of rudder to keep it straight. We keep our altitude by moving the aileron there. If we get a little too high of a bank, we'll start dropping, and we won't have enough power to keep it in. It's about all we're going to be able to pull today. It's not too bad. That's really what we're looking for. If we get a little shallow on the turns there, we'll start climbing. If we go too steep, we'll start descending, and it comes down pretty quick. That's our introduction there to our hurricanes. Next maneuver we're going to do is going to be the funnel. It's kind of like a hurricane, just 90 degrees off on the timing on the cyclics and the collective a little bit there. All we're going to be doing is going around in basically a tight funnel there. I mean, nothing too crazy. We'll just go ahead and start into nice and smooth. Kind of same entrance, we'll be going backwards inverted. So we'll go ahead and get her upside down, get it backwards. Give a little bit of rudder, a little bit of aileron there. It takes a little bit of up cyclic there. Then we just go ahead and ease it in tighter. A little more aileron to get it tightened up. Of course, it's going to use a little more power, a little more rudder. And it just finds its groove and use pretty much very little adjustments. The same thing, we don't want to use too much collective because we'll be needing to trade off by taking out some cyclic because it's over pitching. But it's fairly simple, and you see we're really not moving the sticks at all. And it's just tracking pretty nice. We can climb by pulling back elevator a little bit, taking out a little bit of the angle on the cyclic there on the pitch. Same thing on descent, we can go ahead and make it a little steeper, kind of like a downwards roll more. A little bit less collective. And just start falling. Stop it by pulling in the pitch again. And then climb it back up. Just a nice big smooth maneuver. Doesn't take too much correction, just need the orientation on it. Our next maneuver we're going to do is a forward and backwards rolling circle. We'll go ahead and start off with a reverse rolling circle. What we're going to go ahead and start off doing is our stationary rolls. But what we're doing is we're using the elevator and roll, or elevator and rudder, to get us around the maneuver. So we'll go ahead and start doing is get it going backwards by using a little bit of rudder here for our turns and our elevator as well. And we want to keep it nice and smooth and slow by using our rudder and elevator. And we want to go ahead and come to a complete stop. And that would be consisting of our backwards rolling circle. And here we go for our front rolling circle, forwards. Same thing, we want to start off stationary rolls. And we just want to go ahead and give a little bit of elevator there, and a little bit of rudder to go ahead and start our turn. Want to keep it nice and slow and smooth. Use a little bit of rudder to go ahead and get the turns going. Go ahead and slow it down to a stop for our stationary rolls again. And that consists of our rolling circles. Okay, the next maneuver we're going to be doing here is a tail slide. It's kind of advanced, but not too hard. What we're really looking for is a nice smooth pull out with using collective more than anything. Really not looking for abrupt pull out here on the first view. But here we go. Just nice fall, collective, and then pull out with a little bit of cyclic. Not much. We'll go ahead and do a few more here. We can get a little more abrupt with it, but we have to back off on the cyclic a little bit. We don't want to break anything. Just nice collective and then a little push. Then we'll go ahead and try a little more abrupt fall. Nice smooth fall, push, and a little bit of collective. Don't want to use too much on the collective, load the head at the bottom. We're just looking for a nice crisp stop. So we're kind of over here stepping up the process. Just coming down, push, and then stop. Very little movements, nothing too, not looking for too much movement, just nice fall, push, and a little bit of collective. That's our tail slide. Next, the next maneuver we're going to go ahead and do is a knife edge drop. It's about the same as doing a tail slide, except we're using the aileron input to stop the fall instead of a cyclic. We'll go ahead and do them nose in so we'll get kind of the same effect on being able to see what's going on. We're looking for a nice fall here, aileron coming out, little collective. Nothing too dramatic on the controls, just very smooth, crisp movements. Nothing too, just looking for a nice fall here. And then just nice aileron, a little bit of collective. And it's all about the pull out, and we can have really sloppy drop, but we just want a really nice crisp pull out. We'll go ahead and do a nice rigid one here. Same thing, we're not looking to use too much collective on the stop. It's all about cyclic. So we'll go ahead and get a nice drop here. Crisp pull out, very little collective. You almost don't need any. 0 degrees of pitch will stop the movement. Just nice fall here. Crisp stop, very little collective. That's how we do a knife edge drop. Okay, the next maneuver is a death spiral. Once you master the knife edge drop, we're going to go ahead and throw in a variation of it, really. Not too much more difficult. All we're going to do is roll into a knife edge drop, and we're going to choose push forward cyclic to get some rotations in, which makes it the death spiral. And same thing on the pull out. We'll just do a few here. We're going to push, get the death spiral going, knife edge fall again, and then we'll just go ahead and nice exit out. Very smooth controls. Nothing too erratic here. We're just looking for that nice knife edge drop we were doing, and then just moving it into a forward cyclic motion for the death spiral. Knife edge drop, push, stop, and then we can just pull it out like we were doing our knife edge falls. Very smooth, but we can get kind of creative with them by doing some aileron ones as well, kind of like a 4-point rolling tail slide here. Want to drop it, one of those, roll, pirouette, roll, and then just exit out like our tail slide. It's kind of a fun maneuver, really thrilling because of the fall, and it gets even nicer with low pullouts. We do kind of a roll here, tail, then that, and then just like our knife edge pullout. And that consists of our death spiral. Okay, our next maneuvers is we're going to go ahead and go through some auto rotations. What we'll do is just start off our simple, just some inverted autos with some pretty simple flip outs at the end. We'll just go ahead and start off easy, and we'll go ahead and advance them up. So here we're coming in inverted. What we're looking to do is just push it down elevator and slowly move the collective down. It's all about collective timing on the flip out, so we don't lose any head speed. It's the important part about doing aerobatic autos. This time here we'll go ahead and try a roll out. Same thing, we're going to roll. Instead of doing elevator input, we're just going to go ahead and give it some aileron. And it's all on the timing on the collective when we're rolling out. Just go ahead and get a little further out here. Rolls take a little more on the because they carry through with some forward momentum. So we'll start our descent, roll. So the important thing is just trying to keep the rotor disc momentum. You don't want to slow down the rotor head in auto, otherwise you'll be bailing out. Just make sure you're ready with your switch to get out of an auto rotation. That's the big part about auto rotations. People aren't ready to flip out of throttle hold and end up crashing because of it. Okay, we'll go ahead and throw in a pirouette in this one. We're just coming down inverted here. We push over, a little tail moment. Next thing you know, we're landing. Bring the throttle trim down a little lower. Here's a kind of a cool auto rotation I like to do. It's kind of changes things up a little bit. Coming across inverted like this, kind of push up, just hit the tail there. When you see it's starting to slow down, level it out. One important thing, just make sure you look for your wind direction. You always want to do auto rotations into the wind. All you guys that are doing aerobatic autos should already know that, but just a quick little reminder. We'll go ahead and do one of the auto rotations I've been messing with, just the pirouetting auto, also kind of known as a chaosing auto. Very critical on collective timing for the flips. You definitely need to be smooth on the cyclic, as you'll see. You don't want to use too much. I'm just going to go ahead and just a little bit to flip it over, a little bit positive, flip it over again, negative. I blew out the tail on that one. Just go ahead and keep it going. Just a little bit of positive, roll it over some negative. And we just kind of float it down. Doesn't need to be a high rate of descent. It's kind of cool. Kind of call it the glider because it just floats around. It's around like -1 degree pitch is all you need. Just kind of land it like a little airplane there. It's kind of a neat auto. We'll go ahead and do a bigger one like that. It's pretty fun. Kind of float it down, let the head speed droop down to about 1,000 RPM and just kind of watch it. A lot of people like it because it's just, you know, hanging out there for a while. Just a nice slow descent, just finding, I mean, don't have to touch it, just find that sweet spot and just let it sit there. And just float. Get a little lower, probably 20 feet. You just want to go ahead and bring down the pitch a little bit, get a little more energy for the landing. But that'll be our little segment here on doing auto rotations. Okay, the next maneuver we're going to do is a little more advanced. It's a pirouetting tick-tock. It's basically just a smooth 4-point tick-tock. We'll go ahead and start out with a 4-point tick-tock and then move it into a pirouetting one. It's the easiest way you can really see the transition. Here we go, we'll start off with a 4-point. Got our 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll go ahead and, you can see here it's just like doing a 4-point tick-tock. Just a little more on the timing, really is critical on the cyclic. We're just backing it down, just nice, smooth, collective movements, little cyclic, kind of quick because we have to keep the timing in as if we were doing a 4-point. Otherwise we'll end up start doing a chaos or some other maneuver. It's kind of one you're going to have to experiment with yourself really to see about the timing on. It's pretty difficult, but that's how we do a pirouetting tick-tock. Okay, the pirouetting tick-tock, we really can't put too much more explanation on exactly how to do it. It's really critical on the timing, on the cyclic, just trying to keep it on a flat surface, you know, with the disc always facing you or always at a 90 degree to you. But it's just something you have to experiment and mess around with. Okay, the next maneuver is probably the one a lot of you guys have been waiting for. We're going to go ahead and do the chaos. We're going to have to break it down to a few different steps. Basically, what we're looking for here is, you know, a smooth pirouette, but what we want to really do is keep it in a general attitude to a kind of a forward and back tumble. Yeah, I'll kind of explain why we're doing it here. We'll start into it here a little bit. What we're looking for is, you can see the bottom of the helicopter and we see the top of the helicopter. We kind of want to keep that same attitude. And it's just, we're following it around. You can see with the timing with the sticks, we're always giving back, forward, right, left. Just a nice, we're not going to the extremes on the sticks, just small, smooth increments here. To get it tighter, we can go to a tighter circle here. They just kind of get a little raspy and kind of jerky looking. I think they look a little nicer when we just smoothen it out. One way of learning this is by setting your tail rotor end point just to a nice pirouette, maybe a little slower than this to find the timing. Mine's really set up to be really fast if we get on it. We don't want to do that. We just want to stay with a nice smooth pirouette here. We're just looking for to keep it that way. I mean, we can get it off timing a little bit, and what happens is we'll start seeing the side of the helicopter like that. I think it's a little harder to figure out what's going on. I'd rather stick with as we see a top and a bottom of the helicopter. One thing nice about this maneuver is when you do get a good perfection on the maneuver in a stationary place, is to go ahead and move it, like to the right, or climb it by using a little more collective. We can move it to the left here, make kind of a little box. But it's just all kind of off timing now. It's kind of hard to give you a really good description while we're doing it. It's kind of hard to give you a description on the ground. It's kind of one of those things you're gonna have to mess with. But also, you know, play with the video here and just watch it on where exactly I'm putting the sticks in relation to the helicopter. You know, when I always see the tail boom vertical, such as here, we're always pushing down. And when I see it down there, we're pulling up, and it's, you know, you can kind of see a nice, you know, if we slow down the pirouette rate here a little bit, a little harder to do, but you can kind of see in relations on what we're doing. You know, we're kind of just doing 4-point tumbles, but mixed right in with one. And then we can go ahead and speed them up. And all it is just moving that stick a little faster. It's a pretty difficult one to perfect. I wouldn't say I have it 100% down yet, but I mean, we're getting there. And I am kind of known for doing it down low and everything. We'll do that later in the video, but right here we're just going for the instructional side. But that's pretty much in a wrap how to do a chaos. Okay, our next maneuvers, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go ahead and mess with transitions. It's kind of hard to go ahead and really kind of put it in detail, but you'll kind of get a visual with the radio. It'll really help you out, I think, on what we're really doing here. You know, just kind of going from our TikToks here, you know, throwing in a pirouette on one end, doing some rolls with a pirouette there, you know, just throwing in little things, you know, like a kind of a tumble here with a roll on a vertical here, doing a roll, just little things like that.